everyone, John here, your host on the Prepared Mind channel. Welcome back to Patreon. Yes, welcome back indeed. My weekly wrap-up video, I had kind of a light and airy attitude in. I was thinking, okay, we get a couple days break. How wunderbar, right? Very nice. That came to a screeching halt Saturday with several things that have taken place, happened. Right? I did talk about in the weekly wrap-up how a slow week probably means there's something going on behind the scenes. I seem to recall saying that. And then thinking next week, right, after Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday holiday, we would start seeing some action. Well, the powers that be, the deep state, don't have that kind of respect, I guess. They just don't. And what are we witnessing? We witnessed a bunch of things happen. So let's start with this. I'm going to ask you to stop this video and click on the link down below. It has to do with Greg Hunter's interview with a gentleman named, I want to make sure I get it right, Kevin Shipp, who's an ex-CIA officer. Now, Greg Hunter, on his channel here on YouTube, or over on YouTube rather, is a seasoned CNN professional reporter. He's not a kid, he's not inexperienced. He was doing this interview with Mr. Shipp, and he was stuttering and having a hard time with it. Now, it's the first thing I watched when I woke up early this morning, because something in the universe didn't feel right. Anyways, Greg got this interview out, but he, even as a seasoned man, you could tell by his speech that something was, getting to him. It was really bothering him. And so I recommend you go watch that video right now and then come back to pick up the rest of this. Okay, bearing in mind that behind the scenes, there is a tremendous amount of fear, paranoia. There is a literal war, as we've talked about. Yeah, there's a coup attempt. There's threats of impeachment that have just gone off the hook over the stupidest thing I've ever heard. There is a battle royale between the powers that be and let's just call it the good side of the force. Certainly, the good side has got better intentions for you and me and everyone else than the bad side. That is the cabal, the deep state, the powers that be, the Illuminati, whatever you like to call them. So I want to look at the events that occurred in such a way as to paint a picture of an agenda playing out. In other words, a counterstrike. Right? The Dark Empire strikes back. And I kind of hit on that theme last week. The Empire took one on the chin. Well, they've striked back. Now, this story about Trump calling Haiti and other nations, I think including some African ones, he isn't being quoted as saying anything. It's being reported that it was reported to people who reported to the Washington Post. So the Washington Post is getting the second hand at best that during the meeting, Trump called Haiti and these other nations a shithole. And then a guy with a shithole just below his nose named Dick Durbin and many others have come out and said, oh yeah, that's true. Donald Trump called them a shithole. Now, you could just say this is just another random attack against Trump to try and discredit him and raise the public's awareness of how crude he is as a man. And I pointed out that, if you want crudity, if you want immorality, you don't have to look any further than the leaders of the Democratic Party. Right? But, saying a word like shithole and referring to another nation is supposed to reach to the levels of an impeachable offense. It's not going to happen. What I think the left wing, which is just the stooge wing of the powers that be, they wanted to rile up everybody. Now, did Trump say, or did Trump reputedly say, these black shithole nations? No, he didn't. but he's being called a racist, right? Racist. So the Democrats, the left, the powers that be are playing the race card. They've slapped it down on the table on Martin Luther King Jr.'s weekend. Right, so they brought the story out, made sure it was out and well distributed by Friday, so all the talking heads through the weekend could keep this on the front page, on the big headline on CNN. Right, and I've made several jokes over on Facebook with memes talking about, how do you get, they're going to get CNN to say shithole at least 100 times. Right, it is, they've taken that to what I like to call a ridiculous degree. They've protested too much. It is amazing. But what they're doing is they're rallying their base. They're exciting their base. They're getting their base tuned up. That is the overt action that's being taken. They want their base riled up. This is a war in Washington, D.C. that's being fought right now. Have no doubts in your mind. And since you've gone and watched the interview that Greg Hunter did with Kevin Shipp, you can understand the fear that's going on behind the scenes because of the illegal, illicit activities that have been committed, right? Crimes that have been committed. Not just activities, but crimes by Hillary, by Bill, by Director Comey, who's no longer the director, Loretta Lynch. Everybody under the Obama administration, including Mr. Obama himself, they are running scared. And they're going to start firing back. And it is my belief that is precisely what has been done. So we're going to go from the overt actions taken by the Democrat Party to rile their base to something I'm going to call a semi-covert action that happened this weekend. That is in Hawaii. The state government, not the federal government on the nation, or I'm sorry, the state of Hawaii. I'm sure a lot of Hawaiians would like to think it's a free nation. Can't blame them there. But the state of Hawaii accidentally pressed the button, boink, that told everybody in Hawaii on their cell phone, it sent out that emergency text and told them that a missile attack was inbound. If you haven't heard that, I can't believe you haven't heard anything about it. You need to understand that that is not an accident. I am tired of hearing this phrase, fat finger. Right? We don't have phones with itty-bitty, teeny buttons anymore. They're big buttons. You don't accidentally press the wrong button. Right? Wouldn't you think a button that says, "Attention all Hawaiians, inbound missiles coming, run for your lives like your hair is on fire," and not even have a plastic cover over it? I mean, what'd a guy do? Set his fucking coffee cup on it by accident? The message is pre-made? Is that what they're telling us? And it's just sitting there with all the other security precautions and approvals in line so that you just have to accidentally touch it with a fat finger? Whoops! Oh, it was during a shift change in the Office of Emergency Buttons. You can't be kidding me. You can't be serious. You can't kid me that way either. It's bullshit. So on the one hand, it's overt. Americans are hearing about it. Missile threat, missile attack in Hawaii. It's reminding them that there's a problem in North Korea. Remember last week I said, geez, it's conspicuous by its absence. And I said this during the weekly roundup. What is going on is conspicuous by its absence. We've got North Korea and South Korea trying to talk, and then we have this American-generated fear by the state of Hawaii by accidentally pushing a button that takes an awful lot of security clearance to get through and probably has more than a plastic cover, probably a fucking padlock, as well as some sort of identification, right? Thumbprint, eye scan, something, before you send a message out like that that breaks in and overrides everyone's phone. Right? If they can send me a Megan alert in California that just blasts through my phone and interrupts everything, then I'm pretty sure a missile attack, right, can override everything and just be pushed down everyone's throat and scare the hell out of them. People were putting their kids in storm drains, trying to find hiding places. It tells me something interesting as a prepper also. That Hawaiians, and I've been to Hawaii a couple of times, great people, especially the just people who've lived there their whole lives. It's a great place, wonderful place. They're not prepared. They're living in paradise. They're not thinking about hell. But they are not prepared. At least the people who appeared, took pictures, sent them to the press, they wanted to show an America that was unprepared. What does that tell us if we look at this from the perspective of the deep state is firing a warning shot across the bow of the good guys? They're letting them know people aren't prepared. And if something were to happen, look at all the death that's going to come. Look at the destruction. It is a threat. This isn't an accidental button push. It's not a fat finger. It's not a whoops. It's not a shift change. It's not just to get people riled up and remind them of North Korea. It's to threaten the Trump administration with, these are the consequences if you keep pushing at us in D.C. If you want to expose the corruption, the theft, the unconstitutional criminal behavior of the powers that be and their puppet masters, who are the mega rich, and expose all of the evil they're doing, up to and including and probably beyond the pedophilia that's going on. This is a threat. There will be dire consequences. Now, that said, will the good guys try and use countermeasures to stop a false flag attack? Or stop something from happening on a grand scale, something along the lines of a 9/11 type event? You bet the Trump administration and the good guys are going to have countermeasures, and they are fighting right now as you are listening to me, behind the scenes. This is an incredible moment in world history. World history. To understand what is going on behind the scenes. Now, I'm going to take it another step further. So Hawaii was a threat. I don't know if you caught this, and I've tried sending everything I wanted to talk about here to Jolene, who's the site admin. She's doing a great job of keeping up and pushing all the information we want to get out, whether it's through the preparedmind.club or here at Patreon or over on the YouTube teaser channel or on Facebook. She's doing a great job. We have an Iranian oil tanker. And correct me if I'm wrong, if it's not Iranian, but it happened off the coast of Iran. But here we go. We've got an Iranian tanker, explodes in flames, and everyone on board is lost. What does that mean? What can we extrapolate from the information I've talked about so far? From Kevin Shipp's interview and many others who are trying to expose what's going on and get as much daylight on it as possible. It's letting us know that this is not a coincidence. It's a coincidence, right? When you play Go Fish and you put down a 7 and the other guy puts down a 7. That's a coincidence. It's an accident. I don't think it's an accident. On the same weekend when Trump is being attacked, there's a missile threat that has gone public in Hawaii, and then an oil tanker goes off. Today, when I'm recording this in the afternoon, it's January 14th. In 4 days, the petro yuan over in China, right, is officially inaugurated, started, executed, in play, in business. What does that mean? That means they are buying oil with their own money versus using the US dollar or US Treasury notes. Right? The US currency, which funds and layers the nests of the powers that be in the United States, are losing control of the energy market. If you think this isn't a direct hit, a warning of things to come, you are not paying attention to the way this world works. Many, many, many things have happened at sea. Let's start with, remember the Maine, when the USS Maine was sunk. How about the sinking of the Lusitania? How about Pearl Harbor? How about the Gulf of Tonkin incident? These are all maritime accidents that resulted in the United States going to war, up to and including the two major world wars. Maritime accidents. Whoops. They do things at sea. And let me remind everyone about the attack on the USS Liberty by the nation of Israel that was made or intended to look like an attack by Egypt to draw the U.S. into the 7-Day War. The ship did not sink. The men did not all die, and they reported it, and the press has suppressed that attack, that false flag maritime attack. This is not a joke. They have attacked, in my opinion, this is my theory, and my conspiracy theory is supported by history and repeated uses of maritime events to draw nations into conflict, at the most and at the very least to send very important messages to the powers that be at every nation's level. The ship broke out in an explosion, caught fire. It's an oil tanker. Has China been negotiating with Iran to buy its oil with the petro yuan? Right, Japan was doing some side deals with Iran, if history and my memory serves me correctly, before the Fukushima event occurred. Just another coincidence, just an oddity. There's a lot of research over there that suggests a nuclear device was set off on the ocean floor, offshore from Japan, and caused the tsunami that led to the Fukushima event. The powers that be do not want to give up their control. You cannot say, gotcha, and say, we caught you red-handed, you're a bad guy, and then they just walk away and give up. They don't give up. They have a history of scorched earth policy. They will get their way or they will destroy everything that they control. So that control has to be taken from them. This is a very serious message that I have. It's extremely serious. As far as I'm concerned, because of the racial implications of calling Haiti a shithole, I think they're trying to foment civil unrest and political public firestorm and lowbrow pandering in the United States. In addition to that, I see the Hawaiian episode, the Whoops missile attack, I see that as an intentional threat. And then I see the attack on the oil tanker as proof they still have the means, the capacity, capability to cause terrorist-type damage. And that wasn't just a threat. It was an action taken, and it was against Iran. Now, what the press releases, what all the other smart guys say, I don't know. This is my theory. Because I have history supporting my idea. And I wanted you guys to be aware of it. I hope others pick up on that idea. I hope others promote it. Right? But this is just one of those results of my type of thinking. That's why I'm a prepper. It's why I've been prepping since the 80s. Why I have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. right? Why I have a plan, why I'm thinking about this stuff, and why I'm sharing with you guys. Because I want you to be ready. I don't want people to be surprised and caught off guard. I don't want their suspicion levels to be dropped. I want them to understand how real the threats are. And that this isn't just a game and we're armchair warriors on a Monday morning taking a look at things and going, yeah, that was interesting. Doesn't bother me, doesn't affect me. It does. You know, the threat on Hawaii may not result in action taken in Hawaii. It could result in a nuclear device or other dirty bomb device or terrorist activity occurring here on the mainland in the United States or up in Alaska. Forget how close Alaska is to North Korea. You know, it's a serious situation. So I want you to think about the overt nature of some of the activities going on, as well as the covert nature, how this world works. You know, think about your history. You know, think about the desperation of criminals with incredible amounts of power and money. It's quite scary when you really get down to thinking about it. Shit can hit the fan in the blink of an eye. So I have to ask the question, right? I have to make the statement. Chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Keep a sharp eye. Stay frosty. Godspeed to y'all.